Hi, I'm Catherine Reid, and coming up next on the St. Paul Forum, I'm talking with Peter Remes of First and First about playing the building. That's next on the St. Paul Forum. Welcome to the St. Paul Forum. I'm Catherine Reid, and joining me today is Peter Remes of First and First, and we're going to be talking about playing the building. Welcome to the St. Paul Forum, Peter.
Thank you so much, Catherine. Great to be here.
Glad to have you. So first of all, I know you have roots in St. Paul.
I do.
Can you tell us just a little bit about where you came from?
Sure.
What was your little story growing up?
Absolutely. Grew up in Highland Park. My father had a drugstore on the corner of Randolph and Snelling Avenue for, 27, 28 years, called James Pharmacy. So it was a family business. My siblings and I were all involved in the business, running the store in various capacities. Went to Highland Park High School and spent the greater part of my youth around the Highland Park area.
And did you ever go away and then come back, or did you always stay here?
Went away to school for a few years and came back, college, and then finished up at the University of Minnesota. And so for the most of my life has been sort of rooted here in the Twin City area.
And so you had these entrepreneurial roots
I do.
already ingrained in you. And did you start off your career always doing entrepreneurial efforts? How did you get into the kind of development we're going to be talking about in just a second?
Sure. Pretty much. I mean, I sort of had the entrepreneurial bug as a child almost, starting probably back from when I delivered the St. Paul Pioneer Press and the Dispatch twice a day during that era. Yes.
So you had was that a walking route then?
It was a walking route.
Everyone does it by car now, but you walked.
No, that era is gone. Kids don't really do that anymore.
No.
Ever since I was probably in third or fourth grade, that was my routine. I would deliver the papers early morning before school, and then after school in the afternoons, and then just being ingratiated in my family's business, my father's drugstore. It just taught me early on just sort of the idea of self-sufficiency and being, working and being active and producing or contributing rather every day.
Yeah.
So.
And did because the projects we're going to talk about have an interest in community in general.
Mm-hmm.
Were you politically active, community-minded? Where do you think that came from in your history?
I've been involved in political campaigns, find them fascinating. I think everybody in their life should get involved in a campaign of some sort, just for the experience of what that's like. But the idea, the projects and the community involvement just, I think, originated more organically. I've been involved in some facet of real estate my entire life, ever since I started my first company. And I guess in summary, I think that most real estate is kind of boring, and I thought there must be a way to sort of infuse some different ideas to the idea of a real estate project or real estate development. And once I got into that or sort of started down that path, the idea started to take shape, and it just got to be more interesting to me.
Mm-hmm. And as you look at, especially because we're going to be talking about real estate in an environment where many people are really aware that there's just been a lot of shakeup in the real estate industry.
Tremendous
and
amount.
that everyone looks around and sees personal tragedies of
people
losing
everywhere.
their homes, and then we know that business developments have been affected.
Yes.
So, and the tax bases of our cities have been affected. So when you look at that equation, you've decided to come, like I said, you've been involved in it before the recent history, but what made you decide to do something, some real estate now? What led you to this effort?
I think it was a function of a couple different things. I think, the crash of like 2008 or 9, when there's a tremendous shakeup within the industry, both on the residential side and the commercial side, which was no fun for any of us. Some of the, admired people that we all know for 20, 30, 40-year track records of success had to recalibrate, and some were devastated. But interestingly enough, on the other side of that, it did provide opportunity in other ways too. A lot of properties that failed or went back to banks, whatever, were sort of repositioned or reoffered at different valuations. And that probably didn't occur. It wasn't out there in the marketplace 5, 6, 7 years ago because there was so much competition. Secondly, the idea of just doing things a little bit differently was very appealing to me in terms of just what's going on in the world in terms of almost like a sociological shift in terms of communities and what people's expectations are, what they're looking for in their life. The traditional model of like office space, which, you know, what we all grew up in. Some of our parents went to work in office buildings, which are traditional glass and steel and concrete buildings that are pretty much
plain vanilla.
Very vanilla. Very vanilla, replicated the same all over the landscape, not just in Minneapolis, St. Paul, but throughout the, you know, the world, really. And I just thought about the idea of sort of repositioning that a little bit and infusing ideas that may not have been traditional. They may not have been like ideas that may have been thought of or used before a lot or if ever. And I just thought, you know, why not? Why can't it be? Just because it's boring doesn't mean it has to be. It could be interesting. And that's kind of what the catalyst got me started, or got me thinking about, you know, trying to do things that were interesting to me. I think this whole thing is like very selfish because it's really what I'm interested in. So I figure.
But isn't that what they tell you that as a writer too? It's like work on the projects that, you know, write about what you know, write about what interests you, and other people come along. So what interests you, it seems as though, is some intersection between community, art, creativity, innovation. So can you tell us a little bit about what is that sort of mission statement for the work you're doing? What does that look, you know, how do you describe in a nutshell what that looks like?
Well, it's a great question. And that mission statement has been refined, and I've been working on that now for about a 3-month period because I don't take it lightly. And I want to make sure it encapsulates exactly who we are and what we're doing. And that's evolving and changing too. But I think that the desire or the need or the interest for this type of a project is very robust. It's very real. I think people are very interested in the idea of sort of a magnet or a hub and spoke sort of model where people are coming to a particular place and then have offerings or ideas or other things that would surround maybe the lead idea or the anchor idea. I think that these things can coexist in ways that maybe traditional thinking thought that, no, it'll never work. You can't do this next to that. And I think you can do that next to this. It just has to be presented in a little bit of a different manner.
Let's give an example, because in addition to, we're going to talk specifically about this installation and this art project
at Aria.
At Aria, but we're going to talk. But right now there's a project already open for business, and there's we met through a project that's underway in St. Paul, on the edge of St. Paul. But the project at 26th and Nicollet. Just describe briefly kind of what's been stitched together there.
Sure, happy to. That project it encompasses almost a city block over on the corner of 26th and Nicollet, and there were 5 buildings there. We removed one, so there's 4 buildings that stand today. And what it is, it's a culmination of buildings that were sort of built over time, kind of the same time over historically, I'm guessing, turn of the century. The most notable one, or the tallest one, is one called the Ice House, which was used to cut blocks of ice out of Cedar Lake and store these blocks of ice in the building year-round. This is this is
the way we used to refrigerate.
Pre-refrigeration.
Sadly, the people in New York are having to think about how to refrigerate in a similar way. Yeah.
Exactly. So the blocks would be cut out of Cedar Lake and then brought over, probably on a horse-drawn wagon, to the ice house, and they were stored in there vertically. And the building's probably 76 feet to the top, I believe. And so these huge blocks of ice would be stored in there, and then the walls of the ice house were clay tile, which was an insulation tile used, and then there was about 2 inches of cork on the inside of the clay tile. Wow. So it was a big refrigerator, and I'm sure in the heat of August you'd go over there, and it was probably 30, 28 degrees inside. Yeah. Probably not a real pleasant job for those that worked in there. I mean, these huge blocks of ice, I'm sure guys, lost fingers or arms or who knows what.
We don't want to think about that.
No, we don't.
But what's in there now?
Well, now, so the ice house, after modern day refrigeration came into being. The ice house fell into obsolescence, and it was used as like a photo studio and different things over the years. We acquired the building in 2010 when that whole city block had just one tenant in it. Everybody else had left, and it was in a tremendous state of disarray. It was distress. The building, which has the Ice House restaurant in it, which is next to the Ice House, that building had been condemned and the roof had collapsed, so
wow.
it was a mess. But we took the Ice House building and converted that to an indoor rock climbing facility, which is Vertical Endeavors, which has a facility here in St. Paul.
Yeah,
and
very
on the east side, very popular, great organization.
And part of a real interesting redevelopment in that side of St. Paul.
Absolutely.
But now so they've decided to expand.
Up at the Phelan
and be
Corridor,
on
yeah,
Phelan
absolutely.
Corridor, and now at the end of, or part of Beat Street.
Correct.
Then.
Yeah. So that was like the perfect tenant for the perfect building.
That's so interesting.
yeah,
And
and
to this point of stitching together things you wouldn't expect to be together.
Right. It was a tremendously complex project. We basically built a building inside of a building to accommodate the heavy load of the climbing walls and whatnot. But it was a great building. It is a great anchor for the development. And then the idea, there was a building right next to the Ice House, which encompassed, it was about a one-story, 5,000, 6,000, 7,000 square foot building, which we tore down and created an outdoor plaza space, an open-air plaza space for, just for the community, for the neighborhood, for people to just come in and sit and participate and have a coffee or whatever.
And it's proven to be a great attractor.
It has been, yeah.
And you did do something really interesting because you took some architecturally significant stones and bring those and install them as a...
that was really a joy to do that. I found the Metropolitan Stones, or who owns the Metropolitan Stones today, out in Delano, Minnesota, and negotiated to buy those stones and brought some of the more ornately carved ones into the plaza space and placed them around for just seating and benches and whatnot. And sort of have some of the DNA of Minneapolis now infused into the plaza. So,
well, and there's this theme of art, community, and as we move forward, we're going to talk a little bit more about now this project that you're involved in.
Yeah.
If you're just joining us, I'm speaking with Peter Remes of First and First, and we're going to be talking now about playing the building. So you decided to take over Aria.
Yes.
This was a space that used to house the June Loon Theater.
Correct.
And it's now an event center.
Yes.
But it sounds as if with Playing the Building, which was an installation project of artist David Byrne,
yes,
you've decided to bring the space to life in a new way. And in just a minute, we're going to look at some footage of this. But tell us briefly about both the space and then this installation and David Byrne.
The building, it's a really unusual building. I sort of broke the cardinal rule of real estate by buying the building, which is don't fall in love with the building, but I fell deeply in love with this building. I still am. I think it's really one of the more unique venues.
And just tell us where that is. It's down in north.
It's on the corner of First Avenue and First Street. It sort of wraps around the corner.
And
it's
it
a
used to be June Loon.
It used to be the Theatre de la June Loon for 18 years, which originated from Paris to Minneapolis. An amazing, innovative theater company that in 2008, in the crash, they weren't able to survive that. But that was their home for 18 years, yes.
And then you decided to buy the building, and you said it's the corner, hugs the corner there.
Yes, building came on the market in late 2008. It was on the market for about 2 years, I believe, or 18 months. Then we acquired the building in 2010, and with really no super specific plan. We just loved the building. I loved the building. I thought, we'll figure something out. It's such an amazing piece of real estate. And, it's funny. I had a plan to do something with the building, which after about 7 or 8 months of analysis, it just got to be cost prohibitive. We weren't going to be able to pull it off economically successfully. So we sort of shelved that plan. But during that 7 or 8 month period, I can't tell you how many people calling me or emailing me saying, hey, I want to get married there, let me have a party there, whatever. And finally, I just thought, let's let the building be what it wants to be. And I always thought the building should stay open to the public. The public loves the building. Many people have been in for performances over the years for the theater. So the idea of keeping it open and using it as an event space and kind of like the living room for Minneapolis, which was my idea from the beginning, was like, let's try to keep this open and do some interesting things inside of the building and still have it make economic sense, but allow people to come and go and really have unusual, unique experiences here.
And so the Playing the Building, which has only happened in London, Stockholm, and New York,
Correct.
is now here in Minneapolis
Correct.
for just a couple weeks.
Correct.
Why an art event? And describe. We need to describe it. We're going to let's look at some footage
Sure.
of
Love to.
what it looks like. So
Right.
Playing the Building is taking a piano,
Yes.
an organ,
An old pipe organ.
and putting it in the space. This beautiful organ, and it says "Please play," so it is playful.
It is.
And tell us a little bit more about what happens when you play. What happens when you touch those
When
keys?
you touch those keys, you'll sit down, and if you have any musical experience at all, it will make no sense to you. So it'll probably have to recalibrate your sense of chords and how things sound, because it's really the idea behind the whole project. David Byrne's idea was that this is a completely democratic experience where if you've got experience, if you're a concert pianist, or if you've taken piano lessons or know how to play a piano, it will not matter whatsoever. You can throw that out the window. Those lines are completely erased. Yeah,
That's
which I found a really interesting concept.
That's a really great concept.
Yeah, like.
And now this is hitting actually on a piece of the building.
Correct.
And
That's
so
on
the
a-
sound actually is being created in the building itself.
That is correct. David's team came out and spent about 2 weeks installing these various motors and flutes and different apparatus to attaching themselves to the metal components of the building. So when you touch on a key, through these air hoses of compressed air, there's a generator in the basement of the building, which you don't hear or see. It activates these motors, and you basically create this orchestra of noise, which is kind of fascinating and fun. The first couple of minutes, you're like, wait, I can't get anything going here, and then after a couple more minutes, you can start to like play around with it. And
So persistence matters.
It does.
And curiosity.
It does.
So
You've
the
got
idea
to be
of please play is the younger you are, probably the more uninhibited you are
the
about
kids
trying
just
it.
like get it
They
right
go.
away. Yeah,
During this installation, this is open to the public.
that is correct.
This is absolutely something that you want the people to come to.
Oh, absolutely,
And
yeah.
the idea is that people come and experience the space. Some only one or two may be playing, but then people are experiencing
Absolutely.
it. Is that and I know there are balconies in the building as well.
There are.
So they
I
can
mean,
experience it
You
from
can
different-
move around the building, different places, upstairs, or different corners of the main floor, and it does have variations in terms of the sound and the tonal quality of it. I was amazed. I was there on Saturday when there was some other. On Saturdays we have a jam session where you can come in and play percussion instruments, bring your pots and pans or whatever you want, and just we'll
what people
make
are doing.
music. Yeah, and we had a great turnout. A lot of people were participating, and I was on one side that I hadn't been on listening to it, and I couldn't believe the difference in sound quality.
Wow. And this notion of democracy, let's talk for a minute about David Byrne and the partner that you had also, because there's another
Full
aspect
cycle,
to this,
yeah.
full cycle. So David Byrne is someone who not only is a great musician and world-renowned, but he is a lover of the bicycle. And he's
Yes.
written about the bicycle, and he loves Minneapolis. I don't know if that was part of the draw with
Yeah,
him,
sure.
but he
I
kind of
think
knew
he
that we're
loves
a
the Twin
bicycle
Cities. I don't think it's just
community. Yeah,
Minneapolis.
not just
We spoke a lot about
Minneapolis.
St. Paul while he was here, and no, he's a huge biking advocate. I think we've now surpassed Portland as the #1 bike community in America. I don't know who keeps tallies on these, but
Yeah,
we have
I know
a lot of.
we're high up there.
We're high up there, yeah. But we have a great bike community, and David is such a strong advocate of bicycling. So we were able to partner with this amazing organization in Minneapolis over in Chicago called Full Cycle. Their tagline is "Bikes that Give Back," and
Yeah, it's a
Matt
great
Tennant
organization.
is the founder and the director, and an incredible guy doing super important work over in the Minneapolis area. I don't know if they work in the St. Paul area or not, but
I think they're fairly localized because they're kind of a small project.
Yeah.
But I'm sure they have the capacity, and the kids know no boundaries. You
Absolutely, they don't.
Because
Yeah.
they're serving
Yeah.
kids who
Absolutely.
are homeless and
completely.
need
They're working with
transportation and
taking kids off the streets and giving them skills, bicycle repair, and just giving them a place to check in and a little bit of accountability. It's a wonderful organization. We were deeply honored to be able to work with them. And the opening night with David, we auctioned off a couple of bicycles that were autographed by David and raised a bunch of money to help Full Cycle expand. And it was really a fun experience.
And so if people want to know about that particular mission, we'll put up their website.
That'd be
This
great,
is Full
yeah.
Cycle, and this
Yeah.
is something that you've decided that this was a charitable partner.
Yes.
This is something you wanted to stimulate people's thinking about not only in their own enjoyment, but how to help someone else.
Absolutely, yeah.
So let's talk a little bit then again about some of the other specific projects as you're looking forward. Now you're hoping that people come and experience playing the building.
We are.
That it will also create some attention in the community for this intersection of these ideas, some democratic ideals, some artistic ideals, and then this notion of colliding with each other, if you will, in a positive way, not in a...
colliding or just merging, just the idea of, there's, I think the world has changed. Certainly when I was growing up as a kid, the democracy of choice is stronger than it probably ever has been in society today. And people's individual styles are really important to them. And we're trying to create environments with individual style that hopefully people respond to. As opposed to just cookie cutter or just brick and mortar, just taking a building and renovating it, or building a project. We're trying to do them very individualistic and specific that appeal to some of the things that we're interested in. And we found there's a lot of people out there that are interested in the same thing. And that's the part that's kind of a really nice payoff for us. Mm-hmm. It's not that we're doing this just, economic return is important, but there are other returns too that are equally important, and just the psychological or dividends that are, sort of felt by the community as they participate in like Aria or the Nicollet Project, or a project that we have on Vandalia in St. Paul, and a number of others around the community. It's really gratifying to see that people do respond to it. It's just fun. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's definitely capturing people's imaginations. And I think it's interesting that the property that I know best, actually I know two of the ones probably better than the one on Broadway that you're
Broadway and Central.
You're doing, which is going to include a brewery.
612 Brewery is the sort of the main, or not the largest tenant, but the first one in, and they'll be opening here in I think about 30 days, if I'm not mistaken. I was just over there on Monday, and they had gotten their equipment in over the weekend, and they were very excited about that. It's fun to see.
And that project will include a little bit of public art as well.
It will.
This theme of sort of public and participatory art seems to be emerging, and as the property at Vandalia is one that many people have driven by 100 times. It's has a water tower and a little billboard, and I think, how many? It's 14 buildings?
14 buildings, I think, encompassing about 205,000 square feet.
Wow, it's
we've got the
huge
School for
space.
Recording.
And the School for Recording Arts is currently in there, along with some exceptionally talented woodworkers.
Absolutely.
But it's at the corner there of the Cretan Vandalia exit in 94, and it's kind of tucked under, and that seems to almost be a little bit of a theme when I think about the one on Central and Broadway too. It's kind of tucked in or hidden or invisible, or you drive by it a million times and never see it. And do you think that will change with the Vandalia? I know you have an intention to change that with the one on Central, where you're going to poke it up a little bit.
We are building a vertical,
have something where people will see it. What do you imagine for the Vandalia property?
We are spending a lot of time right now modeling that out and looking at it and pushing around different ideas architecturally, and just trying to figure out the best flow of the building. We might change the entrance to that building, move it to the other side. We have some ideas of doing some exterior sculpture pieces on both the Vandalia side and the other side. It's fun at sort of the high level, moving these pieces around, because it doesn't cost anything to talk and to just move things on a piece of paper. We've started in on the main building in there, on some of the space on the main floor, and we're just going through the city process right now to get those approvals in place. But I'm very excited about the project. Kicking around some different names for it too. The mattress building used to be a mattress factory, so we're trying to see if that legacy fits into the contemporary version of the building today. It's a wonderful location. We've all driven by that intersection countless times in our lives. You're right, it's been sort of invisible, tucked away there in the shadow of the paper company. But we're going to change that. We're going to give it a new life and a new visibility and a new prominence. Yeah. And
so as you look to the future, when you think about this idea of, to go back to playing the building and this sort of democracy, kind of what do you think about as you think about what comes next for you? How do you want to be, if you were to have a legacy in another 10 or 15 years related to the developments, what do you think that would be for you, Peter?
It's a great question. I think, It's interesting to me to take a project or a building or a set of buildings that have been a specific use for a long time and try to re-envision or reuse these buildings in a new, in just a new manner, a contemporary way, and bring in technology, bring in new ideas, bring in arts and culture, bring in things that we probably all have an interest in, maybe some stronger than others, but to infuse those into our daily life, the places where we go to work every day. Like, why shouldn't they be interesting? Why can't they be interesting? Why do they have to be the same thing? Those are ideas that are just personally interesting to me, and to be able to shape some of these and direct some of these a particular manner is tremendously gratifying to me. You know, it's not like one grand gesture. It's like 1,000 little moves along the way that take, you know, that shape them, and we sort of do this in real time. There's a lot of decisions that are made in real time. It's tremendously stressful some days, and you know, we're trying to figure it out on the fly and battle, you know, deadlines and weather and just, you know, all kinds of different things.
So just in terms of that different moves, we're just mention the website one more time, because they can get to the event between now and December 4th.
Yes, Aria, Minneapolis, AriaMPLS.com, playing the building. Yeah.
And you really want people to come and
we do,
participate.
please, absolutely. We'd love to have you down there.
And so,
Saturdays and Sundays we have programming, so there's variations, there's dance, there's jam sessions, there's spoken word, there's all kinds of things. Much of that information is on the website.
Okay, we'll make sure that they check it out. And that's all we have time for today on the forum. Come join us again next week.